I think, first of all, I think condolences to the UNRWA family, losing 6 of their people that work in these conditions for nearly a year now to provide humanitarian aid. The very little that can be done, considering the current conditions. I hope it's going to be investigated thoroughly and see how it happens. But I think that should be a rule of thumb that UN people, humanitarian aid people, should be protected. The war is bad enough as it is, and these people are trying to ease some of the immense suffering of more than 2 million people. The fact, and not for the first time, as you mentioned, more than 200 UNRWA people died and other humanitarian aid people killed, is unacceptable and should be avoided.
But will calls by the UN for an effective investigation and accountability for these deaths be heard?
One hopes so. At the end of the day, for Israel, there are 2 options. Either it investigates it in an open and accountable and transparent way, or it will end with an international investigation. That happens not only in this case, this happens in other cases. The reason that we see more involvement of the ICJ or the ICC is because there is a feeling in the international community that the Israel legal system, from investigation by the military police, the military, and the judicial system doesn't do this job. As long as there is independent judicial system, independent judiciary, then the international system intervene less. But if there is none, then there will be probably more international effort to discover the truth.
Well, the school that was targeted in this recent strike has been hit 5 times since the war began. Israel claims it's a Hamas command and control centre. What's certain, though, is that it really is not safe for the 12,000 displaced people who are staying there.
They're not really safe places in Gaza. Gaza is a tiny place. Some people have been already displaced 4, 5, 6 times. This school and hospitals serve as shelter. Let's be clear about that. Hamas is a cruel organization. It does hide in hospitals. It does hide in schools. It hides behind. It uses human shield. This has been established time and again. However, Israel, as a democratic state, should adhere to international humanitarian law. And when there is a suspicion, even if there are Hamas people, but its operation might kill a civilian, it should hold a fire. It's not to exonerate Hamas and the way it behaves. Hamas has been as a terrorist organization, but Israel can't use means that cause or shouldn't use means that cause so much civilian suffering.
Well, the US has also called for fundamental changes to the way Israeli forces operate in the occupied West Bank after an American activist was killed there. What do we know about the circumstances surrounding her death?
This is a case, that has to be independently examined to see how this happened. And from what I see and read, there are different accounts. There is the account by the IDF. There is accounts by the demonstrators where there. It reminds me of other cases like Thomas Arndell and Rachel Corrie, the way they were killed, and eventually it was, that Israeli soldiers were brought to justice. It has to be investigated. Again, it's unacceptable that a civilian, a protester, unarmed, very difficult to see how she posed any danger to well-armed soldier and still being shot dead. I think it's not only important, obviously it's important for her family to know the truth and the justice is done. But I think it's also important for the Israeli Defense Force, for the IDF, to learn lessons from this kind of operations. whether some soldiers are too light on the trigger. Was it a mistake? What exactly happened? And at this point, most importantly, that such tragic incidents will not happen again.
Now, Professor, we saw both Donald Trump and Kamala Harris debate about the conflict in Gaza. How would either candidate, if elected as president, focus their attention on the war? How would they differ?
Well, with Trump, of course, expect the unexpected and the unpredictable. Who knows how he's going to be? When he says that, he said even before that Israel is gone if Kamala Harris is elected or will be destroyed, which of course, as everything else that Trump says, there are a lot of nonsense. I think assuming that, Kamala Harris is doing better and better, and definitely after the debate yesterday, because she can actually present some coherent ideas, unlike Trump, I think there will be changes from the Biden administration. I think there will be more push towards a ceasefire if it's not achieved until then, and I really hope it will be achieved until then. But I think something very important she said yesterday, need to go to the root causes of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and resolve it once and for all. At the end of the day, there is no alternative to acknowledge the right of both sides for self-determination for everyone, Israelis and Palestinians, to live in peace and security and coexist, and to move on with what we unfortunately witness now. And I think definitely someone like Kamala Harris is better positioned to do that. And with Trump, we never know what he's going to do the very next day.
Professor Yossi Mekelberg, thank you so much for joining The World. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.